what's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. As always, my name is Michael and thanks for joining me. So today I'm excited to do my very first Friday Q&A session. I hope to start doing this every single week where I just answer the pressing questions that you guys ask to the best of my ability. Now before I get started, I do want to give a shout out to two people, and those two people are my most recent Patreon supporters, Scott Robertson and Hilson. I appreciate the support. Guys, if you're at all interested in supporting the channel directly through Patreon, even $1 makes a difference to me. It's not the dollar amount that you contribute, it's just the fact that you say, you know what, I appreciate and benefit from this channel enough to where I want to support you directly. If you're at all interested, by all means check out the link below. Now, getting back to the topic at hand, Friday Q&A, what I'm going to do is go through the pretty much all the quick questions that I can answer and then ask the kind of longer form questions at the very end. So let's go ahead and start off with question number 1. CK9292 has asked, are there any credit cards that I absolutely recommend specifically geared towards miles and just cash rewards or cashback cards? And yes, but I do want to say I'm not like affiliated with this credit card company in any way, right? I use the Capital One Venture card. It really does give me really good airline miles. They may have changed terms, but when I first got on, I think that was like 2015, but when I first signed on, they had a promotion that said, look, if you spend more than $3,000 in the first 3 months, we'll give you like 40,000 free air miles. And because I put all of my bills on my credit cards, yeah, that was easy to do. So Capital One, I totally recommend for travel cards. They have a $95 annual a year version, which is what I use, and a lesser one. I can't remember if it's no fee at all or if it's maybe half the amount. But what you do need to pay attention to is how much money do you spend each month on your credit card? Because if you don't spend enough, there's really no point in getting the really nice one that has a $100 a year fee or the $95 a year fee, because that fee is eating into your reward. So double check that you spend enough money. If you are interested in just a normal cashback card, for the longest time I just used my credit union cashback card. There was no fee whatsoever and it was a simple 1% back. It wasn't nearly as glamorous as the Capital One card and the rewards weren't as good, but guess what? I didn't pay any fee and it worked out just fine. So regardless of what you choose, just make sure to do your homework and make sure that everything is working out in your favor. Question number 2, Mark Werner wants to know, is it worth opening multiple lines of credit in order to help build a good credit score? I do not recommend opening multiple lines of credit, right? When it comes to building credit, it's not really a race, or at least I don't treat it as a race to get your credit as high as soon as possible. Your credit score will naturally go up due to responsible uses of loans and credit cards and things of that nature. So the goal is not to go out and game the system and find out how can I skyrocket my score as soon as possible by opening multiple trade lines. I just don't recommend it. I have a line of credit, one, that I've never used in my entire life, and I got it really just to start building credit. So if you want a line of credit and you never plan on using it, sure, but do you need to go out and open 5? No, definitely don't do that. And just as a side note to anyone who's watching but isn't 100% familiar with a line of credit, a line of credit is kind of like a misnomer, like a credit card or a home equity line of credit. All of these things kind of sound like lines of credit because they're lines of credit that you can draw on, but a credit card, while it is technically a line of credit, is not an actual line of credit. A line of credit is something totally specific, and if you do want to learn more, I do have a video that I've done on them before, so look out for that. Next we got Johnny Chan, who wants to know if I will post a picture of my Wealthfront account. Yeah, I have no problem. The first one is really just a snapshot of the entire account. As you can see, it's pretty boring, but the good news is going up. So the way I've started it out, and I know I've told you this guys before, but in January of 2016, I opened up the account and I just started it off with $500. That's it, right? And then from there, every single month after, I've contributed $100. So it's pretty much just a slow treadmill upwards, right? Every month I put in 100, hopefully it goes up that month as far as the returns go. And as you can see, that has been the case. And picture number 2 is a breakdown of how they've chosen my individual investments. Again, I've always kept my risk tolerance set to 7, and this is how they broke it down. So obviously, the US market is kind of what I have the majority invested in, and it has performed the best out of everything else. And then from there, it just goes down. But overall, I think it was what, I'm up 34.66% right now as of January 2016. All right, these next 2 questions I'm gonna keep really brief. Hilson, you had asked, will I comment on Bitcoin? And the answer is yes, I 100% will, but not in this video, mainly because I plan on putting a video out this month, so stay tuned for that. And then also, Cub, you had asked my thoughts on bankruptcy and feelings towards it and what you should or should not do. And I want to keep this really simple. I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't want to comment on what you should or should not do when considering bankruptcy. It's nothing that I've worked with specifically, and I don't, again, really feel qualified to speak on that. So if you are interested in learning more about that, definitely do your own research and or hire a CFP that you are interested in working with. Speaking of CFPs, Brandon, you had asked, are there any benefits to working with an actual financial advisor as opposed to a robo-investor, such as like Wealthfront, Betterment, all of those services? And yeah, I absolutely think there's benefits, right? The main draw to me, at least because I worked at a credit union where we had financial advisors, is that they are an actual person that you can talk to. And if you have any concerns about, things that are coming up or what you should invest in or, what you need to set a timeline for retirement, all of these things, you actually have a physical person, you can get a real-time answer. It really gives you someone that you can put your trust in, right? They are your fiduciary. Their obligation is to put your interests ahead of anything else. So while Wealthfront technically is my fiduciary as well, it's not like I have an individual person that I work with over there. Whereas a financial advisor could be, honestly, someone that helps you out tremendously over your entire life, right? Making the right investment selections, helping you, make smart choices when it comes to potentially getting loans or debts or saving money for your children's tuition. Like they just do so many things. However, I personally do not use one, mainly because I don't see a need in it for myself as of right now. Next, we've got Boso718 who has asked about money market specifically, and is your money more safe in a money market in the event that there's ever an economic downturn and it's FDIC insured, and how safe is it? And the answer is it's really no more safe than a savings or a checking or anything like that, right? FDIC insurance covers banks, NCUA insurance covers credit unions, and they're both for the same dollar amount. You are insured per account up to $250,000. So if I had $250,000 in a money market, it's no more safe than $250,000 in a checking account or a savings account or anything like that. Money market may sound like an investment, but it's not. It's really just a savings account that normally has a balance requirement and pays a higher interest rate than your basic savings account. So again, if you're considering putting your money into a money market, you really shouldn't have any concern about it not being safe compared to just a normal basic savings account. All right, the last two questions that I want to address are emails that I received in the past week, and I do want to address them specifically because, hey, I said I would answer them to you in those emails, and I also think this is good learning opportunities for anyone else watching. And to start off with, let's talk about an email that I received from Shauna, who said that she recently got her first real job, but had some difficulties setting certain things up, and just really wants to know, when you get your first job, what are some of the most important things that you should do, right? And to start off with, I think you had mentioned you had some issues setting up direct deposit. Because I worked at the credit union for so long, I saw this literally hundreds of times, and it's probably nothing that you did specifically, but when anyone is interested in setting up direct deposit, obviously you have your account number and you have your routing number. That's what the company needs to know in order to send your paycheck to your direct account at that bank, right? Your routing number represents the bank. Your account number represents your account within that bank. Now, however, a lot of institutions may have prefixes in front of your account number that designate which share to go into it, right? Let's go back and assume that I have a savings account, a money market, and 2 checking accounts, right? Well, if I just give them an account number, how do they know which share that goes into, right? Well, that's where the prefixes come in. So if you are giving them your direct deposit information, make sure you've got the appropriate prefix. A lot of times a voided check will take care of this, but if not, the institution should be able to tell you what your prefix is. Maybe 1 is for savings, 2 is for money market, and 3 is for checking, right? It may not be that simple, but the idea is that there's a prefix that specifically designates which share you want the direct deposit to go into. From there, I would also say definitely make sure you do your best to enroll in 2 programs if you are interested in. Number 1, obviously insurance. I was listening to an audiobook on a road trip recently, a book called Nudge, and they were talking about how small specific actions can lead towards really, really big change in personal finance. And they were talking about their employers and healthcare plans and how a lot of people, even in their first 6 months, do not sign up for health coverage, mainly because either A, they put it off, or B, they're confused. But regardless of what the situation is, definitely get enrolled in whatever you want to choose, right? There is not an automatic you are enrolled plan. Most of the time you personally have to elect to enroll into their plan or their coverage. Not only that, but a lot of times at the end of the year, that kind of resets back to zero, where you have to choose, again, do I want to enroll or not for the next year's coverage? So pay attention to that, and if you've got any questions, that's what your HR is for. Next, also, if it's a job that you're going to be at for a long time, you really do envision yourself being there for a while, definitely make sure that you find out about their 401k program. A 401k is your retirement account, kind of like an IRA, but it is different. But it's set up through your employer. And the reason why I think you do need to ask yourself if you plan on being at this company for a while before you open a 401k is because a lot of companies do things differently as far as your vested balance. If you don't know, a vested balance is how much of your 401k can you take with you if you ever leave the company. So let's look at maybe my credit union, for example. They had a 5-year fully vested program. Every single year that I worked there, or at least for the first 5 years that I worked there, I gained 20% vested balance. That means that if I contributed $100,000 in 1 year to my 401k, but I left the company after 1 year, I would only be able to take 20% away. Well, if I'd contributed $200,000 and I left at year number 2, then I can take 40% with me. And then the next year is 60, and then 80, and then finally at 5 years, I've reached 100% or fully vested. I can take the full dollar amount with me. So if it's a company that you don't plan on staying with very long, maybe you don't want to sink insane amounts of money into it because it's something that you're going to be leaving soon and you won't be able to take the full amount that you invested into that. In addition to finding out whether you plan on staying there for a while, you need to find out if they have a matching program. Okay, a matching program dictates that the company will give you, or I should say match, a certain percentage of how much you contribute to the actual 401k. So if you say, you know what, I want to contribute 8% of my paycheck to my 401k each month, and the employer has a matching 5% program, well then they're going to match the 5% that you matched, and then that extra 3% that you put in there is just your money going there. So not only are you contributing 8% of your paycheck on your end, your employer is matching 5%, and that is huge. That is free money. You need to take advantage of that if it's something they offer. Okay, again, if you plan on only staying there for a little while, maybe it's not something you want to do, but if it's something that you're doing long term and they have a good matching program, that is free money. Take advantage of that. The last thing I want to say about this whole getting your first real job, most of the time your first real job is also the most significant source of income you've received up to this point in your life. And with that comes lifestyle creep. We all know about it, and it really just says that when I start making more money, you tend to buy nicer and more expensive things because, hey, you make more money now. And I'm not saying that I don't do this, right? I was totally guilty of this, so I cannot say that I haven't done it. But my advice to you would be don't let lifestyle creep in too much. It's totally understandable to not live like a hermit and live the life that you want to live. However, do not let lifestyle creep happen to the point where you get into debt because you think, oh, now I can buy a nicer car, or I can buy this really expensive house, or these clothes are looking really good, now I have the money to buy it. Don't let lifestyle creep in too much. There's absolutely a balance that you should keep. Make sure you've got your investments going strong. Make sure that if you've got debt that you're using this extra income to pay that down as soon as possible. Do everything that you can to make sure that you're actually protecting your future more so than just enjoying a nice pay raise. And the last email that I want to talk about is an email that I had from Giorgio who had said, look, if you had happened to come into some money, let's say $20,000, what would you invest in? What would you do with it? And first, let me make this disclaimer. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to tell you any specific investments that you should make. However, I would want to approach this from if I were receiving $20,000, let's say at like 20 years old, who knows? But what I would do with it now that I've kind of lived my 20s, right? Number one, I would not sink the full $20,000 into anything at all, really. I just wouldn't, right? Maybe there's a specific dollar amount that you do want to invest, maybe in a robo-advisor, or you want to get your own personal financial advisor, right? Sure, there is a dollar amount that you want to invest in that, but I think there are some other things that you need to look at first before you dig into investing, right? Number one, if you have debt, pay that stuff off with that money, right? This counts car loans and credit cards and things of that nature, because you know what? Who knows what the market is going to do? Personally, I've been having good success these past 2 years, but there's no guarantee that 2018 is the same, right? Where if you do have credit card debt or student loan debt or personal loan debt, those interest rates are guaranteed to charge you whatever interest rate they're charging you. So get that stuff knocked down if you have it, right? I don't know if you have it or not, but if you do have it, pay that stuff off. Number 2, make sure you have an emergency fund. You know, I did a collaborative video a couple weeks ago with Dennis from True Financials, and he really highlighted the importance of having an emergency fund, right? If you don't have one, right, but you invest the full $20,000, well, what happens if something comes up and you have to take your money out of your investment account? Well, A, maybe you're paying a capital gains tax, and not only that, but a short-term capital gains tax as opposed to a long-term, right? All of these things matter. Okay, so if you had an emergency fund in place, you wouldn't really need to worry about that nearly as much. So determine how much you need. A lot of people say 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses need to be set aside. So if you don't have that, definitely do that. And in line with that, you also need to predict, let's say, you know, in the next 1 to 2 years, what is it that you plan on needing or purchasing? Like, is there a good chance that in the next couple of years you're gonna need a new car? If so, you need to set aside some money for that so it's there when you need it. Are you going to be buying a house here pretty soon? Well, maybe you want to have a large down payment amount saved so you're not paying like a mortgage insurance premium. You do kind of need to forecast what could be coming up in your financial future so you are prepared for that. You know, speaking of financial advisors earlier, a lot of the ones that I talked to while I worked at the credit union said, look, we're looking for those who don't need these funds for the next 3 to 5 years, right? That's how much time we want to make sure that we're earning an appreciable amount on these assets. So if you think, oh, I'm going to need these funds in maybe like 6 months to a year and a half, there's no point putting that money in an investment. So again, to kind of wrap all of this up, I would say make sure to have your debt paid off if it's not already. Number 2, have an emergency fund for the, like, say, 3 to 6 months if you don't have one set up. And from there, forecast what you could need in the next year to 2 years, have that set aside as well, and then whatever is left over, okay, from there you need to find out how much of this am I potentially willing to lock up, A, for multiple years, and B, how much of this am I comfortable losing? Right? Again, there is no guarantee what the market is going to do. Sure, traditionally it's performed very, very well. But as far as guaranteeing that you're going to have solid returns starting from day one, that cannot be guaranteed to you, right? As far as which investments to make, again, that's not actually what I talk about or promote or anything like that. I personally use Wealthfront because it is a far more passive version of investing rather than active, and that's what I'm interested in. I've done some day trading in the past, and I've looked at individual stocks, and sure, some of them have succeeded really well, but it was actually something that was not making me happy at all. I actually much prefer the passive route. So those are the questions that I got from you guys this week. I'm happy to answer any and all of them. If you've got questions for next week's Friday Q&A, put them in the comments section below. Also, please remember that we are doing a giveaway for the month of December and probably every month afterward. All you need to do is look at the December giveaway video, comment, make sure you've subscribed, and share. Please, 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 guys, you don't know how much this helps me if you share these videos. By sharing these videos, we expose ourselves to more people, and we get more subscribers, more views, bigger giveaways. It's nothing but good stuff. So thanks again for watching, guys. Please, again, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share. You know what to do, but take care. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, I know I just said this stuff, but let me say it again. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. And to support you, here's 2 more videos that I've made in the past in case you haven't seen them. Don't forget to share these with your friends and family so we can help all the people achieve their financial goals. Likewise, if there's anything that you would want to see made that you haven't seen thus far, definitely don't hesitate to let me know. But thanks again, take care, and have a good day.